What's going on, guys? Killer6 back with another Borderlands 3 video for you, and in this one we're taking a look at the takedown at the Maliwan Black Site, the new free content release dropping this Thursday, November 21st, and more specifically, what you can get from this and how to best gear yourself up for it. Before we begin, a few notes about this content. It's designed to take about 30 minutes, so a fair bit longer than Proving Grounds. It's designed to be done as a 4-player co-op, but I highly suspect that you will be able to solo it. Also, keep in mind that Mayhem 4 drops with this content, and with that comes increased difficulty and greater rewards. At this time, we don't have a clue what Mayhem 4 will be like in terms of modifiers, but it could be pretty tough. So with that said, if you're looking for people to play with, head over to discord.gg/borderlands and find the specific looking for group section that applies to you, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. A couple of other quick notes: with this content comes some other very awesome things. A substantial bank increase of more than double the original bank should roll out with this, and dedicated loot sources will be here too. So if I name a legendary in this guide that could be helpful to you, then make sure you go check out my farming guide for that item, as I should be releasing a ton of those soon as well. So now that I got that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the new gear that you'll be able to get from this. And before I show you these, let me preface this by saying that these are not the only legendary items that you will be able to get from this. Up first is the Redistributor SMG. Now originally this was a rare or blue rarity SMG that you got by completing the impending storm quest. So it will be interesting to see just how much this legendary variant improves over the original. It does appear that the legendary one can spawn with elements, at least with cryo, whereas the original quest reward was always shock only. Next is the double penetrating shredded Tig's Boom. That's a mouthful. This Torgue shotgun offers some sticky rounds and traditional impact rounds. It consumes 2 ammo per shot and can output about 8,000 damage in a matter of a few seconds, so it's potentially pretty powerful. But purple Torgue shotties do even higher base damage, so it'll be interesting to see what the legendary effects are on this gun that will hopefully make it more powerful. The red text says a gaping hole in the sky, and I have no clue what that's in reference to, so if you guys know, drop a comment down below and let me know. Also, the name Tig's Boom doesn't really bring up much via web search other than some Urban Dictionary stuff, which I don't think is the source here, but who knows. This might just be another developer named gun for all we know. Next up are some shields, which Gearbox has already said that these are going to be some of the best ones in the game.
Best shields in the game.
And the first up is the Frozen Snowshoe. Now this is a ancient shield that has a decent capacity, but a very slow recharge delay and rate. The red text says give him the cold shoulder, which is just a dad joke way of saying give him the cold shoulder, but with your toes, because this thing works like a cryo red card, meaning that sliding into enemies triggers its effect, which in this case will drain your shield to do almost 6,000 damage cryo attack. It also returns 30% of that Nova damage as health, so could be interesting. You just really need to figure out a good build to make this work in. Then we have the improved version 0.M, which has a decent capacity, so recharge delay, and decent recharge rate. It's unknown what the effect of the shield is, but the red text says stand and clap, so trying to figure out the meaning of that one is near impossible. I guess we'll know more about this thing once we actually get it and see what it does. Last but not least is the recharge burner. Now I know that upon first look this thing seems pretty bad, but let me tell you, the burner shield that's already in the game is pretty amazing. Whenever your shield breaks or fills to max, you trigger a huge damage nova, and this version adds another legendary shield into it with the recharger, which has the effect of instantly beginning to recharge your shield when it's broken, with a cooldown of about 20 seconds. So this thing will allow you to trigger 2 huge novas within about 5 seconds of one another, and then 20 seconds later you can do it again. Now the low base capacity is actually a good thing for this, for keeping those effects going. So really this is actually one that you're going to want to find and keep. Now again, I know for a fact that these are not the only new legendary items coming with this, but that's all I can say about that. So let's divert your attention now to the next part of the guide: how to gear up for the takedown and what to expect. First off, with this being a Maliwan based area, you should grab some elemental variety for your build. For example, my Zane is a cryo specialist, but I will also be taking some corrosive, shock, radiation, and fire elemental items too. I'd say that the most useful elements for this are likely going to be shock and corrosive, but cryo and fire will probably be very handy as well, obviously depending on the situation. Radiation will always be decent, but I don't think it's as crucial for this as the other elements. Obviously, when you face a shielded enemy with a blue health bar, use shock. A yellow health bar use cryo or corrosive, and a red health bar use fire, generally. Alright, now some notes about the enemies that we've seen from the previews. Alright, so up first we got the heavyweights. You guys are used to these dudes. You just aim for the objects on their back. They're usually either big balls or something that indicates the element that they're strong with. Just shoot it with something that they're not strong against and they die. That's pretty simple. Next, commandos. Nothing too crazy here. These guys are pawns of the Maliwan universe. If they're shielded, you can rip those with shock and then swap to fire to quickly wipe them. However, jetpack commandos can be a pain if you don't have the right weapons to deal with them. High fire rate, medium range weapons are best in that situation, usually SMGs or assault rifles. Good weapon to use here would probably be the Star Helix or something along those lines, maybe even a Q system. Death spheres, almost always going to be weak to corrosive or cryo. Also, remember the frozen enemies will take 300% melee damage when frozen, so... War dogs. Usually these puppers have a health bar that's weak to shock and then another that's weak to cryo or corrosion. They move really fast, they get right up in your face, so higher fire rate weapons like pistols or SMGs, maybe even a shotgun, would be really useful for these guys. Now, in this picture, we see what looks like a Maliwan badass enemy using turrets, and there's at least a few of these here. These guys are going to be a huge pain in the ass for a couple reasons. Obviously, the main problem is you're likely going to be fighting other enemies down here while these dudes are shooting at you, so turning your attention to the turrets could be a disaster. It looks like the door is blocked off, likely until you clear all the enemies in this area, which means you're going to have to take these guys out. So my advice is a Lyuda in either non-elemental or fire damage, but note that there's at least 3 of these guys, which means you could run out of sniper ammo too. So have a backup plan, maybe use a launcher, or if you have a Q system assault rifle, that could do the trick too. Q system, for those of you guys who don't know, is a blue or purple rarity Atlas assault rifle that you can find just about anywhere in the game, including weapon vending machines. At some point, you are going to encounter 2 new types of Maliwan commandos. One has a shield and a sword and can absorb your elemental damage and use it against you, kind of like Athena was able to do back on Borderlands pre-sequel. And then there's another who can cloak, making them as much of a pain in the ass as stalkers from Borderlands 2. Now, supposedly there will be a tell of some sort, something that gives them away, but we don't yet know what that is, so just kind of keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, for the shielded guy, try using a non-elemental weapon, Q system. Again, probably going to be my go-to for this whole thing. And for the dude that goes invisible, if you have any kind of grenade that's going to do damage over time, when he's not invisible, hit him with that, and then you'll have an idea of where he's at even when he cloaks himself. Another good thing to have here is the It's Piss grenade, which you can get from Sloth and Conrad's Hold. I've got a guide on that, which you can find at the end of this video as well. Now, this dude right here looks like a pain in the ass. He has a barrier, which probably reflects bullets, maybe a gassed call or some sort of area of effect grenade will break it. It also appears to be generating some sort of shock damage from its surface, so probably best not to get too close. Whenever you break the shield, make sure you aim for the midsection, as that's where the crit spot is for these guys. Whatever this guy is, it looks like some sort of tank enemy with possibly a shield generator on its head area. I'm not sure. This is likely a prep enemy for the end boss. If you've ever played any of the other Borderlands games, you know what I mean. Often they'll include an enemy that features some of the same mechanics as the boss fight, and that usually will help better prepare you for the final fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if these dudes have some sort of barrier, or maybe you can break that by damaging their legs or whatever that they leave exposed, and then that preps you for the final boss in the area. But we'll see, I guess, once we get there. Either way, these guys, I mean, you can probably shoot the things on the sides of them just like you do with the heavyweights to do more damage to them. Now, these 3 look like potential mini bosses to me. They've already said that there's going to be some mini bosses, and these guys fit the bill. Think Digistruct Peak from Borderlands 2. Sometimes you would have to fight through enemies before you could advance, and occasionally that would include a boss type enemy. So I suspect that that is what we're seeing here. Hard to gauge what they're going to do in battle just from this, but the one on the right has a scythe, and so I'm guessing he's probably just going to mad rush you all the time. The one in the middle maybe flies, looks like maybe rocket things on his back or something. And then the one on the far left has a shield or rocket launcher, maybe both, because right at the end of his animation, it looks like he's like throwing down a shield right at his feet. I don't know. So I don't know if we're going to be fighting all three of these dudes at once. The fact that they're showing all three of them together makes me think so, but I don't know. But if that's the case, yikes, we're going to have some fun there. But I would guess your best bet would be to pick off the dudes on the ends first, assuming that I'm even close to guessing what they do. The guy in the middle, if he flies, will be annoying, but I'd save him for last. It's possible that one of these guys is the bubble dude that we saw earlier. If so, then that makes this fight even more complicated. Again, something that does area of effect damage, and I would guess that these guys are going to be weak to both shock for their initial shields, if they have initial shields, and corrosion or cryo to take down if they have like yellow health bars. And that brings us to Wotan the Invincible. So first off, this dude has a huge barrier that I'm guessing will reflect your bullets, but it also has gaps in the barrier that you can shoot through to do damage. Note the radiating pinkish energy on the ground underneath of him. I'm guessing that's to keep you from sliding through that gap and trying to fight from inside of his shield. He'll likely either damage you or just kill you outright if you get too close. Obviously, the huge balls on either side of Wotan should be crit spots, but in this first phase, it will be hard to hit them from the ground. Perhaps that's where these platforms in the distance come in handy. Possible that they might have ladders or jump pads or something that allows you to get up high. There also appears to be barricades around the area that might be useful for limited cover, but I think that these towers are going to be a safer bet. Now, shooting the legs and doing a certain amount of damage does appear to break the barrier, at which time you should be safe to shoot the balls on either side of Wotan to do more damage. Now, from this footage, we can see at some point Wotan splits and his top portion begins flying. So make sure you bring something with a high fire rate and probably either corrosive or cryo to deal with his phase. After taking out the flying portion, it looks like you then get to focus on the legs and this container type thingy on top of Wotan. This also happens to be where the pre-release footage from this fight ends, so we can only speculate from there. If this fight is anything like the final boss from the raid on Digistruct Peak from Borderlands 2, I'd say aim for the middle, right where everything connects. But the container on top might be the crit spot too, so just experiment, I suppose. So all in all, the boss doesn't look that tough, but Gearbox is full of surprises, and I'm sure they've only showed us what they wanted us to see. So don't be surprised if it's much, much tougher than that. And again, discord.gg/Borderlands. There's looking for group sections on there. You can find people to play with. Makes your life easy. They have also said that there will be matchmaking for this. So hopefully, you know, enough people get on there and we can make it up. So I hope this guide was helpful to you. Let me know in the comments section below which 4 weapons are you guys going to run with, which character are you going to start with, and what shield do you plan to use for the final fight. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Maybe even drop me a subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be covering the dedicated loot sources, future content, and much more. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.